Hello, hello. I'll just be one moment with you guys. I always have to set up the computer so I can see your comments in front of me. So give me a second. Okay. 1 second. Come on, little fella. Oh, come on. I'm here. Just be a second. Ah. Come on. Oh my goodness. Come on, you have to cooperate. Oh my goodness. I'm just trying to pull it up on my computer screen that's sitting right here. Hi, Beth. Hi, Lisa. It's not cooperating with me. Oh my God. I don't know why it's not cooperating. Hi, Deanna. Hi, Rhea. I'm trying to fix it. Hang on. I'm not sure why. The joys of modern computers. Okay. Maybe we'll have some luck. Please, some luck. Come on. Oh my God. Come on, little fella. Oh. I can see it on my screen, but I can't see comments. I'm not sure why it doesn't want me to click it. Oh, jeez. If I can't see it on my screen, I can't see your comments. This is not funny, guys. Like, not funny. I don't understand. It's not cooperating. Don't you think the stamp set we're going to use today is cute? It's in the store. Oh, goodness. Uh-oh. Well, guys, I may just have to do this without seeing comments because it is not cooperating with me today. Let's try this one more time. I keep refreshing my page and it will not let me click on the video. I apologize for this. I don't know why. I don't know about you guys, but I've had trouble with Facebook the last couple of days. Have you guys had trouble? Oh my goodness, this is not funny anymore. Like, seriously, people. So I have my extra monitor sitting like right there. And what I do is I bring it up so I can read your comments because it's sitting right in front of me, right? But today, I don't understand why it won't allow me to do that today. I don't get it. This is frustrating. Okay, I can sort of see them on my phone because my phone's kind of like at my eye height, right above you guys. So hopefully I can catch things. Hi, Sandy. All right, let's get started. I'm hoping I can catch comments on what I can see on my screen, and we'll go from there. Okay. And I cannot find the card that I was using for inspiration for our fall hop, so I'm winging it. But this is the stamp set we're going to use today, and we're going to start by making our background. And sequence to the floor. This is a 6x6 stencil, and it is called, of course it's on the packaging, it's called Knitted Stitching. Yeah, and that's what we're going to start with. So I'm going to bring in a scrap piece of paper because it's just easier for me to work on this. And I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive on the back of my white panel because this is what we're going to start with. So use your favorite. And then we're going to bring in a whole bunch of fun distress oxides. And if you guys aren't familiar with distress oxides, then whew, you're missing out, because between distress oxides and Catherine Pooler inks, they are my fave. I recommend both of them very highly. This is a water reactive ink, and it kind of looks dusty, and that's why they called it an oxide. So we're going to start with our lightest color. This is Scattered Straw, and this doesn't have to be super perfect. The reason why I'm using blending, these are the Tim Holtz blending sponges, is I find they put on a lot of ink. So if you're doing a full background like this, it gets that ink onto your paper quickly because it holds a lot of ink in this. Okay, we're going to go to our second darkest. This is Spiced Marmalade. Oxide inks blend like creamy, dreamy inks. So if you want something to make like awesome blended backgrounds that are nice and smooth and even, distress oxides are a go-to. Okay, so to blend the seam, go back to your light and go over it. Or go back to your darker tone and blend. And that's the beauty of these oxides. They're creamier. They sit a little bit on the surface of your paper. So therefore, all the pigments sit on the top and they blend. And that's the beauty of distress oxides. This is Carved Pumpkin. How appropriate. This is an even brighter orange than that Spiced Marmalade. And if you're like me, you're a full set syndrome person. So I think I have all of my distress oxides. And these are all in the shop. Okay, going to Candied Apple. This will be the last one for our base. And then we're going to bring in that stencil. How is everybody today? I hope you're having a great Sunday. I wasn't feeling that great this morning. Feeling a little better now. But I thought, I gotta get up and I gotta create. Because, you know, you just have one of those days where you just want to have fun and not do the dishes. I was a good girl and did them yesterday. Okay, so see how that line is kind of on the harsher side? This is where you go back. And you're going to go and take that lighter ink and you're going to blend it together. And see how it's softened? There's no blender marks, and that's exactly what you want. And that's why distress oxides are awesome. Hello, Lori. And I can't see who just came in there. Hang on one second. I'm kind of hoping I can get this thing to work for me, but for whatever reason, Facebook is being naughty. Okay, hang on one second. Oh, I think we're coming in. Teresa, there we go. Okay, so this is the Crafters Workshop knitted stitching. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, we're going to find a nice spot where it looks even on both sides. The nice thing with a repeating pattern is you can position it so that it looks even on both sides. Just taking some low-tack tape here. Look at this. I use it over and over again till it's can't be used. And tacking down our stuff. Okay, so we started with the Scattered Straw. Now we need to go a little darker. So we're going to start here and move up. So we're going to take the spice marmalade and put it over top of the scattered straw. That way it shows up in the pattern. So when we do our stencil reveal, the pattern will show up as a darker image over top of the light. So wherever your scattered straw is, that's where you're going to apply the spiced marmalade. And then the same goes for the carved pumpkin. You're going to go over that spiced marmalade because it's a little bit darker. And that's the beauty of a stencil and the butteriness of Distress Oxides. They're just like dreamy, dreamy. Okay, so this is candied apple. We're going over top the carved pumpkin. Nice thing about stencils is that you can reposition this again if you need to. Like if for whatever reason it shifted by accident, it's no big deal. You just stick it down again and away you go. Okay, so we're bringing in a darker red. This is Barn Door. And we're going over top of the candied apple. Okay. Just such a simple way to do a background. Okay. And again, these are so buttery that they go on so quickly. Okay, are you guys ready for the reveal? This is the fun part. Okay, ready? Hi, Debbie. Oh, there we go. So see how the lighter areas, and now you can see the pattern as the dark entity. So that's cool, right? Okay. Let's close these up and set them aside, because otherwise I'm going to end up putting a fingertip in. You guys know how inking goes, right? Yeah. If you don't close it, then stuff happens. Okay. Before I go and put this somewhere, we are going to pull Gonzi Tomboy palette out. Now this is Starry Nights, but there's an even more gorgeous one in the store, and it has all tints and tones of white in it, and each white has a different undertone to it. One of them is like pink undertone, green undertone, blue undertone. They're very cool. So they're very similar to what we're going to use here. So that's why I thought I would use the white with you guys. The thing with these is spray a little water into your pan. These are plastic pans, believe it or not. Okay, and you have to give this a good stir because the pigments have to come up and into the water. You do not need a lot of water to get this activated. You almost have to do a little bit of scrub on the surface, okay, to get those pigments to come up into the water. Okay, I'm just using just a silly little paintbrush, and I'm going to get sparkly paint all over the place, but that's okay. It wipes up really easily. It's going all over my monitor and everything. It's okay. We're good. So just sprinkle, sprinkle, dot, 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 dot. And it's sparkly too, so it's extra fabulous. Okay, setting that aside. I'm going to set this aside to dry, and we're going to do some coloring. Okay, perfect. So, as I was saying earlier, we are using the Honeybee Nuts About You stamp set. This is so cute. It has a variety of squirrels and some pumpkins and some acorns and leaves, and some great kitschy little sentiments, and I love that. Okay, so we're keeping this card simple. We're making an A2. Okay, we're going to use some Copic markers, and we're going to start with our pumpkins first. Okay. And believe it or not, we're going to go into almost a brownish red for our dark. I'm going to bring you guys in a little closer here. Give it 1 second. Okay. Hopefully that's a little bit better. We're going to start with an E07. Now, as far as I know, all of the markers I used today are in the shop. Brea has an amazing price on these, and she can order refills in. You just have to purchase them through the store, and then you just give her a few days, and she orders them in directly to the store and sends them out to you. And she's fabulous at getting them in a very quick and timely manner, because she's the only one I can find in Canada that can get a hold of them so quickly. It's great. So we're just going into the darkest parts of our pumpkin, okay? And we're just using a little bit of a flick. We're even doing a little bit of darkness up by the stem, okay? And you know what? I think we will go and do the secondary pumpkin along the same lines. Just flick, flick, flicking. You can, if you're more comfortable flicking away from yourself, then do it that way. Just rotate your image. There's nothing worse than like your marker feeling awkward in your hand. Yeah, it makes it harder to color. So make sure you rotate your image. And you don't need a lot of this color. This is our darkest. I'm going to just put a tiny, tiny bit on the front of that one. Okay, second to darkest, YR18. Okay, so to make things blend with Copics, because they blend within the paper, okay, within the fiber. So you need to go over the previous color. So we're going over the dark EO7, and you're going to draw out this color. So what you're doing is you're using this color to blend with what's in your paper, okay? So go over top of that previous color. This will help aid in that blending process, okay? Again, rotate your image and not your hand. We're going all the way up kind of those crevices, because that's where the darkness would be. And I'm not using any particular light source in mind, because you know what? Sometimes it's just too hard. And it's too hard to teach that. I mean, you have to learn to color first, and then you can play with things like light source, all that jazz. So don't worry about light source when you're starting to color, because it's not important. It really isn't. Just learn to use your mediums. Okay? Okay, Sienna has a question. She says, why do I take both ends of my marker off? Good question. So the reason why I do that is because I have better ink control. The barrels are, this is the barrel of the marker, and sometimes they build up a little bit of pressure, and that pressure will push the ink out. So if you have this capped at this end but not this end, it will force extra ink to that end, and therefore you might get a bloob. And everybody hates a bloob. And you know when the bloobs happen? Bloobs happen when you're almost done and completed your image and it wrecks your image. So let's avoid the bloobs and just take off both ends. It's as simple as that. You won't ever have a bloob unless you've really, really overfilled them. Okay? Yeah. So this is a YR16 or YR16. And again, you're going over the previous color. So you're going to go over top of it and blend it and push it into the paper. Now, one thing is when you use a lighter marker and you go over something darker, you can actually push too much of the color into the paper. And that's okay, because Copics are transparent. You just go in and put that darker color back onto your image. Okay? It's as simple as that. You can always go darker. Sometimes you can lighten things up, but for the most part, you can't. Okay? If you have a boo-boo, so if I went, Oops. Uh-oh. Okay, I've just made a mistake. I'll come back to this one in 1 second. This is what your colorless blender is. So it's a clear liquid filled marker. Okay, this is a must when you're getting Copic. Make sure you get one of these. And it pushes ink. It's actually not really a blender per se. It's kind of ill-named. It's more of an ink pusher. So if you go over this several times, let it dry in between, it pushes ink farther. So it gets rid of that ink and pushes it into the paper, okay? So if you bloob outside the lines and you know that you're going to die cut it, that's what this marker is for. It's for pushing that ink back into that paper and trying to get rid of it. Now, some colors are naughty, like reds. Reds are really naughty. Some of the darker purples, any of the darker blues, they are naughty, naughty, naughty. They do not like to be pushed. So there's some colors where you will never push that ink far enough into the paper to get rid of that color. So just know that. Like I said, they're naughty, naughty, naughty. They don't want to be pushed around. Yeah, so sometimes you have to figure out another way to color over top, or you know what, it really is just paper. Stamp it and do it again. Because sometimes it's that simple. So I'm just trying to flick in some color into our white spot. I'm just going to go back here and flick in just a little bit more flicky flicky. This will also help blend the two, or my last two colors together. Yes, sienna, exactly. That's why I have a few of them myself too, for bloob fixes. That's what it's for. This is our lightest color, a Y38. And this is one of my all-time favorite oranges. It's one of my Y38 and Y35 are they're my lovely orange. I couldn't color without them. One of my first purchases for colors was a Y38 and a Y35. And don't they make... It just finishes off our lovely pumpkins. Debbie, yes, Copic can be very intimidating, and I totally hear you on that one. It's all about practice. And you know what? Just stamp and color. Hi, Jenny. Welcome, welcome. Okay, we're going to go into Squirrely Whirlies. Okay. Do you guys want me in a little closer, or are we doing okay here? Happy Sunday. That's okay. Better late than never, right? Okay. So we're going to do our squirrels here. So you do not have to start with your darkest. It took me a long time to get used to going to my darkest first. But I find that if I map out my really dark areas, because that's what we're doing with our E09, so anywhere where there's going to be like that really ultimately deep shadow, right? That's what this one is for. You're just mapping that out. We're going to go in a little bit underneath the curl of his tail, and then the underside of that tail as well. Okay. Now, I want to do a little bit of softening of texture. So his tail is going to be hairy, right? He's a squirrel. So we're going to start by just laying down just a little bit of hair strokes. And don't worry, we're going to use our lighter colors to blend things out. So you can start with some funny looking lines, like, Allison, what are you doing? Oh, it's okay. We can blend them in. This is why if you just do little teeny tinies, we can blend them in using the next stages of Copics. So you just putting a hint, doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to use our lighter markers to blend in. Okay. Our next one is, hang on, let me just kind of organize our stuff here. That one is not it. Okay. Believe it or not, we're going to go E29 next. So I'm going to go in to those shadow areas and I'm going to put a tiny, tiny bit of our E09. And I'm going to go over top of that E09, which is that redder version of the Copic that we just put in. And I'm just rounding out shadows here. And it's going to get picked up by the lighter colors and help us blend and deepen and darken. So I'm also going down the bottom of his tail because there's going to be a little bit of a shadow there. Okay. Okay, next one. YR27. We're going to kind of go over top of those hairs, per se, and our darker areas. And what it's going to do is it's going to start to push that red of those hairs and blend them out. So what it does is it takes the ink that's stark in a line and kind of presses it out so it softens the edges. Because this marker has more blender solution in it, and that's because it's lighter in color, it's going to help push that red, those hairs, into the paper. So we're just I'm just going over everything. Everything. Don't worry. Okay. I'm going to go back to our reddish here, our E09, and we're going to accentuate those hairs again. And you can get creative with directionality, fine hairs, thick hairs. Just kind of experiment. Go long, go short, curvy, just kind of whatever you think his hairy tail would look like. Okay. Swirl them in. You can leave the end of that tail exactly the way it is. That's fine. And then we're going to go back in with the YR27 again. Again, this is used for pushing. 1 second here, guys. So you can go over top of those red marks again and again. It's going to press and push. So it's going to soften them up. You can push and push more so in the places where there might be a little bit more shadow. Remember, Copics are transparent. So you can layer and layer and layer and layer and layer to your heart's content. And see how now it's not such stark brush marks. They're kind of softened in there because you've used a lighter color over top of them to smoosh them. Okay? I hope that makes sense. All right. Let's go to our squirrel body here. We're going to start off with our super dark, our E29. And if you wanted to go in and darken any of this, you can do that too. So we're going to start with a little bit of hairlines kind of around his knees. I guess I don't know, do squirrels have knees? I'm going to call them his knees. We're going to go a little bit under his arms. Just faint, faint, faint. You don't even have to do hairlines. You could just do a scoop of color. I'm going to do underneath his neck because he's going to have some shadow underneath there. We're going to do the back of his leg. Again, these will all soften out when we put color over top. So if you don't like the hairlines, go over it with just a thick line. You're all good again. Okay, so we're going to go down the side of his head. And some markers are going to be a lot more cooperative than others. This one, because the pigments are really, really dark, sometimes your tips get, I don't know the word for it, but the ink gets shiny when it's applied. Because if you notice, it almost looks wet. And I don't even think the camera's going to pick it up, but this line appears wet and shiny. And that's just because the pigments are going like on extra thick, because the pigment in this, the actual molecules of it are extra thick. You know what? I'm going to do a little tiny bit just to kind of indicate where the bridge of his nose would be. There. Okay, let's go back to our E09. And we're going to go through those dark E29 marks with this color. And again, it's a way of blending. You're going to combine those two pigments together. Whee! Put some fur details in his little legs and his arms and around his body, his cute little body. You can make them a little bit longer into the face. So they're going to blend together with those two colors. And you don't have to be fancy. You just do it. If you don't like it, it's okay. Throw it away. Start again. Been there, done that. Okay. We're going to do these eye sockets. So cute. It just helps with defining the shape of his face. So we're going to go in with our E09. This marker, for me, has a really nice fine tip. I love it, how it gives me these super fine lines. If you have a marker that is giving you fat ones, change the nib out. The nibs do break down with use, and you can buy replacements. Yes, you can. And they're very, very easy to change out. You just need a pair of tweezers. I have a pair of tweezers just for taking my nibs out. There, isn't he cute? He's getting hairier by the minute. I have to know. In most places I have lived, we have had squirrels. I grew up in a maple bush. We had squirrels galore. Not so much here in Medicine Hat. I don't know if I've ever seen a squirrel here. What about you guys? Do you guys have squirrels in your area? Where are you from? And do you have squirrels? Because I thought squirrels were pretty common in Canada. But for whatever reason, I think it's too dry here, and they just originally weren't adapted to the heat and lack of vegetation. Like, if it wasn't for people planting trees here, I think we would be strictly prairie and strictly grasslands. There's just not enough trees for them. Vancouver, yes. Vancouver, yeah, Okay. Second to latest are YR27. I know Lawn Fawn stuff is so cute this year. Okay, so we're going to go over almost everything here. We're going to leave a little bit, and you don't have to be fancy with this coloring. I'm going to leave a little bit of white because we're going to do one more light color. One more. So I'm leaving like the top of his paws white, the top of his hip there. We're going to do pretty much this leg because it's going to be darker. I'm going to leave his feet. And then we're going to do the majority of his head. Let's do his ears before I forget, because his ears are just so cute. Okay. I'm going to leave this area that I've left unhairy. I'm going to leave it for our light color as well. Wee, 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 wee. He's getting to be so cute. Okay, so one more color. Southern Utah. Yeah, I'd imagine you wouldn't have... You have ground squirrels. Yes. Those we have. We have lots of those. We don't have, like, traditional hairy-tailed... Well, I guess ground squirrels have hairy tails, but not like this. Okay, so this is our latest. This is our E97, and this is our highlight color. Okay, so wherever we're still orange, but we want the most light reflected. And if you don't think it's dark enough, go over it again. That's all you have to do. We're going to bring it into his neck, and then we're going to do some color kind of on his snout, around his eyes and his belly. Okay, so we're keeping this pretty clean here. Jenny says, when I lived in the Bay Area, San Jose, in our apartment, we had a big squirrel population. Oh, no. Yes, the ground squirrel is just kind of like a gopher. They're like little mini gophers for us Canadians. Okay, so I'm just going around wherever that orange hair meets the white with our E41. We're going to put it down as kind of like the shadow underneath his chinny chin on his neck. And again, right down that hairy belly where the shade is. Just a little bit across the top there. You can go right into kind of that hairline too, and it'll kind of soften. Okay. If you ever get a darker color on the tip of your Copic, just take it to like a scrap piece of paper and just color it off. Okay. The ink will eventually push off that darker pigment. I'm going to go in just a little bit underneath the eyes because he would have a little bit of a shadow there. Okay. Now let's give him some pinky insides to his ears. Even though it's an E marker, I still consider it a pink. It's an E04. And it's kind of like a purpley pink. I use it as my pink shadow for things. And I use it on skin, believe it or not. And then I'm going to go over it with an R21. And that's just going to blend that out a little bit. And if you're just doing quick coloring, you don't have to pull off that secondary cap. It's more so if you're going whole hog, so to speak. All right, so shall we do our other little fella here? Okay, this time I'm going to start with our super duper dark. Ground squirrels look like chipmunks. Yes, I can. Yeah, there's all kinds of different kind of ground squirrels. Okay, E29 is our layer of where's our shadows. And again, like I told you, you do not have to follow the rules of the sun in placement. Because you know it's too hard to start. Just don't do it. Yeah, just don't do it. just color it however you think about your image in your head. Because when you're first starting out, you don't need to worry about things like, where's the sun coming from? No, don't even think about it. Just color it and have fun, because that's what the purpose of this is to have fun. You don't have to worry about all those things because it becomes too overwhelming, okay? Don't overwhelm yourself. You're just here to have fun, to color, to learn. And now we're going in with our second darkest, our E09. We're going to go over top of our E29. We're going to go up because I forgot to put a little shadow on his bum. Oops. So that's going to blend that color out. Go under his ear. Oops. Okay. And then we're going to start in with putting in some hair. Okay. So he is a little smaller squirrel. So we're going to do a little bit shorter lines for our baby squirrel. Again, we're going to use other color to blend. So, I mean, yeah, it looks like he's got bark or wood grain tail. No, it's okay. Don't worry. We are going to push and blend, and he's not going to have a wood grain tail. I promise. Okay, I'm just getting some lines of hair in there. And if you don't like your hair, then color over it with a darker marker so it hides it. It's all good. Nobody has to know it's under there. Been there, done that. Okay. There. Baby hairs for a baby squirrel. Okay, second darkest for our squirrel, YR27. Again, go over all of those dark parts, like all around those edges, and you're going to use this marker to push, push, push. Blend, blend, blend. So you don't even have to be really careful. You just don't go over anything that you don't want the color on, but you can go pretty quickly. You can go over it a few times to push it, to blend it. Okay. So try this, like draw yourself a circle and give your circle some hair. It's okay to practice on inanimate things. Make it a hairy ball. City girl, yes, I know. I'm sorry, Rhea. Yes, in Vancouver you would never see a ground squirrel. You just wouldn't. Okay, we're going back in with our E09 just to accentuate those hair marks and put them kind of like back in as an accent. You do not have to do this. If you're happy with them blended in like we just had it, then just leave it and go on to the next step. It's okay. Okay. I'm just putting them back in because I want to accentuate them a little tiny bit. I'm trying to make them look like a hairy squirrel because hairy squirrels are cute. Okay, so again, you can go back to that secondary color and you can blend wherever you want. Okay, you don't have to do this secondary step. It's kind of whatever you want to achieve for your final look. And I didn't even bother putting hair on that tip because it's squished in there. You're just not going to see it. Okay, so there we go. We have a cute little hairy squirrel. Okay, going back to our darkest. Okay, we're getting close. Holy. Just a tiny bit. I'm going to go very sparingly on this one. Sometimes I even go over top of the lines of the stamped image because I can take my next marker and blend them out. Just trying to be gentle. Go down the side of his face here. Wee, wee, wee. So cute. I'm going to go down his arm. Oh, and down the side. Okay, going back to our second darkest, E09. Oh, wrong end. Okay, and then this guy is so tiny that he's only going to get a few hairy spots just because he's so tiny. It's almost not worth him putting hair on him. Sorry, little fella. Just do what you can, and if you think the detail doesn't fit into something this size, hey, that's okay. And I'm going to put in his bridge of his nose. Oh, just hoping for a nice detailed little lines here, because sometimes if you press too hard, your nib goes a little bit squishy, and you lose the fine detail of it. So it's kind of however you work. Okay, we're going fast, so YR27. I'm leaving a little bit, remember, our highlight, because we still have one lighter color to put in. Because he's so tiny, we're going in with color, because the details just aren't going to show, because he's so tiny, because he's a baby. So it's okay not to put details in for our second one, because it's okay. He's not big enough to have details. Okay, our latest. I'm not going to bother uncapping my other side. This is our E97. Just hitting those final areas. He needs a little bit of creamy color in his belly area, wherever he's casting that shadow underneath his chin, underneath his cheeks, and a little bit around his eyes. Again, he's so tiny that the details will just get lost, so there's no point in doing it. We're going to do our E04, which is that pinky tone in his ears. Okay. I'm trying to get through this pretty quickly, guys, because I know we're limited on time. Okay. G85, we're going to go on to the acorns. This is our mapping out our shadows again. So he's going to have shadows kind of underneath his acorn. And these are not ripe acorns. These are acorns that have gotten knocked off the tree. They're still green. I'm going to do a fair amount of our medium tone green, just a tiny bit on the top. Go over your mid-tone like such. See how you leave a shine mark? Okay, and G21 to finish it off. There we go. So it still leaves, see the shine mark, but it's green, right? Okay, finish off the tops of our acorns. E89, we're just putting this color on sparingly underneath kind of like the edge of the cap and the stem. Boop. Underneath the edge, underneath, and the stem. And you know what? I think we'll go in and do stems of our pumpkins while we got that color out. This is E87, mid-tone. We're doing fast. Underneath the cap, majority of that. And just a little bit on our pumpkin stem. And then our final color, E84. And if you go over everything with your lightest color, it will blend everything too. Kind of use it like a blender as well. Okay. All right, we're looking good. Are you guys good with time? We're almost done. I usually aim for an hour. Sometimes we need an extra 15. Rhea does have coordinating dies for this stamp set in the shop. So you don't have to fussy cut these. I just don't happen to have the coordinating dies. So there's two ways to do fussy cutting. You can do it just like a die would and leave that white boundary. And the secret to fussy cutting is to move your image and not your scissors. So see how my scissors are basically staying still? It's the image I'm rotating. Okay. So it's just like coloring, right? It takes practice. It takes practice to kind of gauge how much white space and to keep it even. It's all practice. If you cut your images right on that black line, because you have stamped your image on a white piece of paper, the white core of the paper is going to show along the edges. So I suggest taking a darker marker, and you can use the same color of marker that you colored with, or you can use like a dark gray. I tend to use a W6 or a W5. If you take the point of the marker and go around the edge of your cut piece, it masks the white core of your paper and it makes everything look just a little bit more professional. That's only if you cut it on the line. I don't do that when I give my images that white edging, because you don't need it, because it's okay to show the white core on a white edge. The one thing I do recommend that if you are doing faces, like something with skin color, is that don't trace the skin part with your black marker, because it'll look like your person is dead. Gives a gray kind of funky edge to the skin color. So just don't do that part when you're edging your images. Perfect. Do you guys have any questions while I finish up this one last little squirrel here? Okay. We're so close, guys. Love the blending. Thank you. Yeah, it all takes practice, and the more you do it, the more comfortable you will feel coloring, blending, shading, highlighting, putting your shadows in, everything. Just all about practice. And if you love doing people, things like that, quite often there are designers that offer pages of like stamped faces and things like that, where you can practice on like 10 faces at once because they're all on the same page, and then document the colors you've used so that you can come back to them as a reference point, like almost like a coloring page, like that you would give your kids or grandkids. They're handy to have as a reference point too, like, oh, I really like that 4-blend color for that skin tone. I think I'll use it again. You've got a reference point for that. Hi, Wanda. All right, we are almost done, almost done, almost done. Okay. So we have our awesome stenciled background, and I've now stuck it to my table. We're going to add it to a little bit of a black mat. That'll help tie in the black lines of our stamped image. And you can go whichever, you know what, let's do it this way. We'll go light at the top, dark at the bottom. You can absolutely have it the other way. It doesn't really matter. Okay, I'm going to put this on a white card base. Oh, got things sticking. Oh, cool and windy. That's not good. Are you on the East Coast, Wanda? Because because I know I've battened down the hatches there, getting the remains of the hurricane. Okay, so this is just going on a white card base. And again, I like to have the white to tie into the white around my images. So that's always fun. And then we get to build a little scene. And of course, you can do kind of whatever you want for a scene. This one's a little taller, so it might stick out there. Stick out behind the little guy a little better. Okay, so let's put those down, then we'll need a sentiment. Northern Manitoba. Oh, okay. Oh, you're very welcome, Sandy. Glue would be good. Hello. Okay, so let's move this little baby over. And you'll have to mind my glue. So I accidentally bent my pin that came with my glue that keeps it from clogging the nozzle, and I cannot find a stainless steel pin in this town to save my life. So I had to put in a non-stainless steel, and it has tinted my glue a lovely, gross, disgusting color. So thankfully it's only kind of in the top of the spout, and so I can just get rid of it by using it. Okay, putting on our pumpkins here. And our cutie patooties. Oh, his tail doesn't want to stick. Okay. Little bit more adhesive. And we need our little baby, because he's just the cutest. Okay, we need a sentiment. Shall I do it on white or write directly on the card? Because I can do either. So, on white or on the card? You guys decide. Because I know which sentiment we're going to do for this one. I love fall colors too. They're my favorite. So I need a belated birthday. So we're going to do, oh nuts, I forgot your birthday. On the card? Okay. Perfect. Okay, let's bring in our Misty tool. If you guys are new to stamping, this is a must have tool. Don't even bother stamping without one. Okay, this is the Mini Misty. I highly recommend this, especially if you're a card maker. It is my #1 recommendation for a tool. You will love it forever and ever and ever. Okay, so it says, oh nuts. And I'm going to do this secondary, so let's just do this one first. Making sure it's centered. Oh, of course it would stick to my nail. Okay. So on the lid of the Misty, there are etched lines, so you can double check to make sure things are straight. Okay, because you can always peel it off. Okay, let's see how it sticks to the lid. Dun, da, da, da. You just peel it off and away you go. Okay, so I'm using, this is my go-to sentiment one if I'm not going to do any coloring anymore. VersaFine Black Onyx. This is also in the store. So you open your lid, ink up your sentiment or whatever your image is, and stamp away. Gotta love a Misty. There are 2 other different sizes of Misty as well, and of course this thing is not moist. This is my just a Lawn Fawn cloth. It doesn't have any fibers to it, so you'll never get fibers stuck to your stamps. And mine is dry. They go dry like almost like a thick paper towel. So you just dampen them and away you go. I throw mine in the laundry and wash them every so often. And that works out perfectly. They get stained. I mean, you can see I've got purple, black, but you use them and use them until they degrade, and then you get a new one. Because they're not that much, but they're definitely useful. Okay, we're putting our sentiment back, and then we're going to put our sub-sentiment. So, oh nuts, I forgot your birthday. Because that would be me. And I'm just trying to find its sweet spot. Again, you can check it using the lines that are etched. So this is the mini Misty, and I'll show you the original Misty in 1 second here. Oh nuts, I forgot your birthday. Yeah. I have a few September birthdays that I needed cards for because I forgot. So there we go. Because you always need birthday cards, right? Always, always, always. So there we go. There's our fabulous little oh nuts, I forgot your birthday. Let's see if we can bring you guys... Oh, hang on 1 second. Come on, little fella. Nope. There we go. Okay. So, for comparison size, this is the mini Misty. This is the original size Misty. Okay. This one fits in. It's a little bit smaller. So, as a card maker, I advise this, but sometimes I say go here because you can always go with the smaller one later. This you can fit a lot into, and then there's a 12 by 12. It's called I want to say Mega Misty, but that's not right. And it fits 12 by 12 sheet of paper in. So if you're a scrapbooker, it's fabulous. Yeah. So I hope I was able to teach you guys something today. Make sure to check out the shop. There's all kinds of new goodies in the shop right now. There's every company you can imagine pretty much in there, and go shopping, especially for your Christmas stuff, because it goes really fast and Christmas comes like that. So be ready. Anyway, until next time, thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate you guys coming in to take a peek, and I'll see you again sometime soon. Bye, guys. Memory Misty. There you go. Thank you, Rhea. All right. Take care, guys. Have a great Sunday.